So we're gonna we'll go through. Obviously, we'll have open time for comments. But first thing on the agenda is the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail Subcommittee on Junction Park usage and safety. I think you all saw a note I sent out. I attended one of the subcommittee meetings. They've had two subsequent meetings, and really looking at the issue of safety in Junction Park. And they're going to do two main outreaches. One is a survey, which is now available on their link on the town website. I took it this afternoon to get community input on what are some of the safety issues, particularly around wheeled transportation and walking bikes through there and wayfinding. And they've had a subsequent meeting and are planning to gather information, finalize the survey, and then hold at least one, if not more, public meetings with the information and some ideas about how to improve the rail trail in that particular corridor right there. Marcia, I think you were at the meeting I was at, and I'm sure you probably were at the other couples. So do you have other updates?
Well, thank you for mentioning the survey. Yes, that is available. And they're going to download the information by the 8th in preparation for their meeting, their public hearing, which is scheduled, a public forum, I'm sorry. It's scheduled for 4 p.m. on Wednesday, February 16th. And it will go until 6 p.m. They're going to put a presentation together, just trying to define the issues and possible options, short-term, long-term solutions, to understand some of the concerns that have been raised. What's very interesting, they just met last night. We learned that even though we haven't done a major push of that survey, we've already received 244 responses.
Wow.
So that is quite remarkable, just based on some limited. So they're asking people to spread it far and wide. It will be available at the polling locations tomorrow, so people can pick up a paper copy if they wish and return it there, or you can go online and take it through the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail Advisory Committee's webpage. And while they have scheduled an initial public forum, there will probably be a follow-up to explore what they've heard and to share what they've heard, because the survey will be open until the 18th of February for those who might attend the forum and not have participated through that vehicle yet. And then they'll be presenting what they've learned and different ideas, and then probably having further exploratory conversations in mid-March. The goal is to finalize recommendations to the select board, short-term and long-term approaches to address the concerns that have been raised by some of the residents in that area. And I think they have to go have it before the end of June, but I think they're aiming for May. So that's a quick update.
Marcia, what did you say? I thought you said something was closing on the 8th, and I noted that the survey was closing on the 8th, or they were compiling the results on the 8th, but I think that must have been wrong.
No, they're going to take the information that they have by the 8th.
Oh, okay. Just like for a snapshot of where it stands.
Exactly.
Thanks.
Snapshot.
Okay.
Yeah. I've seen the survey pop up on Nextdoor as well, so that's another good spot to find it. Just kind of like a little bit off topic, there was also a survey, a paper one I saw at the library that was, how do you get from point A to point B, survey of unmet transportation needs. Does anyone know anything about that survey?
Yes, I know about that too.
Oh, okay.
That is the making the connections. Concord is participating with Sudbury, Stowe, Bolton, and Maynard. I think, yes, Maynard, to because we are underserved by transit and transportation. We're looking at different vehicles and different ways of getting around. So there have been a number of grants, and we're working with the Metropolitan Area Planning Council. We have hired Nelson Nygaard to help us identify some of the problems and issues regarding transportation for residents who don't otherwise have a way to get from point A to point B. So people without cars, or people who have reached a point in their lives where they don't want to drive anymore, or people who, for different reasons, don't drive. So that's what we're trying to get to there.
Great. Thanks for explaining that.
So I'd encourage you to fill out the survey. I do think it's gonna, there was good conversation and a lot of energy around that. So I suspect they're going to have some good ideas if you can attend the public meeting. Keeping on the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail, Anne, you want to talk about your suggestion?
Yeah, I do have some photos I can share if you want. Basically, we were talking about how I do commute by walking from one part of West Concord, Old Marlborough Road, to the mill, where both my husband and I, he has his office, I have my studio. And as you know, the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail in West Concord is not paved, is not plowed. And if on the rail trails in most other towns are. So if you go on the Minuteman Rail Trail in Lexington, in Arlington, in Cambridge and Bedford, it's all plowed because some people are using it as a commuter lane. And also it's better for your health and well-being. It's pretty dangerous. I did walk there, the trail today. It wasn't too icy. Sometimes it gets really icy. And what they do in other towns is they just they keep most of it unplowed, so you can still ski on it if you want to, but they just make a 3-foot or 2-foot path that's plowed for people to walk or to bike. So that's something I think we need to consider because, as you know, our carbon footprint in the United States is 30 to 40% more per capita than I think any country in Europe, in part because we do so much driving. And so the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail will be fantastic when it next year, when it opens. I'll be able to go to Trader Joe's without taking my car. Absolutely amazing. And so I think we need to really look at that. I also think it's in terms of safety, and I also think in terms of aging baby boomer population. As you may know the stat, there will be, as of 2030, there'll be 73 million, it's predicted, baby boomers over the age of 65. And we've never had a cohort like that in this country before. And if you follow the traffic accidents, the people who've been killed in traffic accidents, often it's by one person by Concord Academy. The woman was 90 who was driving, and she killed a 67-year-old woman in a crosswalk. And then also a friend of mine was 2 years before that was hit. She survived, but had to spend 2 months in a hospital. She was hit by an 85-year-old woman. So basically we need to, for the aging population, for people of all abilities, we need to make it really safe to walk. And now that we have this incredible Bruce Freeman Rail Trail with this access to other towns, it's going to be amazing over the rail trail. And so I think we need to look into, I think what we need to do is evidence-based design. Ask Lexington, what did they do? Ask, Arlington, how did they get it to work? Because it is.
Well, I have a quick question about the other towns who have had the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail for longer than us, like Acton, Westford. I can't remember what other towns it goes through, but do they have an approach where they're doing like a partial snow clearing on their portions of the trail? Because I was thinking that might be something to get on board with.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Anne.
I was just going to ask if Marcia knows if the town has a policy on this or an approach.
We do. Thank you. Yes. When this was being designed early on, Bruce Freeman Rail Trail Advisory Committee had a conversation about plowing, and there are currently no resources. And the decision was made several years ago that they would not plow beyond Junction Park and around the train station. So right now, the policy is there is no plowing of the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail. Further, there are no funds, there's no equipment, and there's no staff. So until it comes, up from the residents to say, we want to rethink this, we want to reconsider it, and take it back to the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail Advisory Committee and have them propose that to the select board, and for them, the select board, then to identify funding sources. It's not going to happen. So,
well, can I ask a follow-up question about that actually before moving to Anne's broader question? So what sounds like from what you just said, it should be being plowed around the club car.
Just to make sure that there's access around the club car. It's not
because I'm told by the owner of the club car twice, including just recently, that that's not happening. And they asked me if I would raise that. They said they had talked to somebody, and they might have talked to you, Marcia. I'm not sure, because I think they said Marcia, there might be more than one Marcia for the town, but their specific concerns were that they thought the town was supposed to remove the snow from that part that loops around them. And I guess the back door to their to the club cars, the number one, it's the kitchen. And so it's where if there was an emergency with fire or something, they'd need to be able to access in and out there. And I think it might also be the only accessible entrance for people who are in a wheelchair.
Okay.
Because they're, anyway, so they were concerned that it doesn't get plowed, and asked me, and I said I would ask about if that should happen and who should do it.
The only place, we try to keep it open so that people can access through the snowdrift that is in the parking lot, from the parking lot.
Yeah.
Woodsville table.
Yeah.
And where the MBTA has parking right along Junction Park, try to keep that point cleared. There was no intention to plow or clear anything else. I think the expectation is Ron, as the lessee of that property, which is owned by the MBTA, would be the person responsible for clearing.
So if you wanted to contact somebody about that, I should direct him to the MBTA.
I think so.
I think he's only concerned with, like, if someone could, like, if he doesn't clear it, nobody clears it, just to their doors, just basically to the back door. But I can tell him that that's the place to go.
I think he's the one who's responsible. So it's, he has a lease.
Oh,
MBTA.
He seemed to, his daughter was saying that his understanding was that the trail itself was supposed to be the responsibility of somebody other than them. No, okay.
No, I'm not, the trail is another person's responsibility, but access to his door.
Is
his responsibility.
Okay.
Well, I think what we could do is, I think this is just really super important. People being able to walk for their health is super important. And I think what we need to do is just more information, because I think in other towns, I think they maybe do raise public funds for it, or they do raise a nonprofit contributes to it. So it doesn't all fall on the town, because I think it's something we need to look into.
I'm just saying the town decided this. It was not some group. It was the advisory committee received a lot of public input on this whole issue of plowing. So if you want to raise this as an issue for conversation again, it would be best to take it back to the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail Advisory Committee. And
that's of course we do that. Yeah, of course we do that. We do that with them first. We'd also talk to TAC. We definitely do it with them, because I think that's what we're going to need to do. We're simply not sustainable, and we're not healthy. And in a cultural district, when you can't even, people are using the trail to walk to the cultural district, and you can't. It's just harder, just more, it's not safe. And especially when it gets covered with ice.
So why don't I suggest, I agree with you, Anne. In fact, we have avoided walking on it with friends and family, because it's just impassable in the ice. And it's really unfortunate, because it is such a asset for the community. So why don't we talk here? But if people are willing, I think we should write a letter to Bruce Freeman Rail Trail Advisory Committee and say, this came up. We're very interested, and we'd like you to let us know how we can raise the issue further.
I think that's perfect.
It also might make sense. I don't know if it's appropriate for the letter, but like a suggestion that they, if they're going to look at doing something, they should maybe like prioritize, like the stretch between Old Marlborough Road and Junction Park is probably more useful to people for commuting than like beyond that. I like to run beyond that, but that's not really like something that people need to get back and forth to town. So if they had limited funds, we want to maybe start with a small focused ask, which would be like, let's start with that one stretch, and can someone clear that?
That's a brilliant,
most important stretch.
That's a brilliant idea, Amy. That's absolutely brilliant, because that's really good, because that's also where kids use it to get to schools.
Yes.
Right? And that's a really, really good idea.
I was just as somebody mentioned it before, I was over in Acton the other day, behind Donlands up to the overpass. It's not plowed at all. It's packed down from people skiing and jogging and whatever, but there was no snow removed in that area. Now that's not a real heavily trafficked area, but just for note. I'm not sure if Acton's doing it anywhere, but they weren't doing it there.
Well, so that's something we can reach out to too, as well as to reach out to the communities, because I think other communities, they originally didn't plow either, and then it shifted.
Yeah, well, I think we should.
Yeah.
I think we definitely should raise it because, like I say, it was a conscious decision not to go on the rail trail a couple of times recently because of the ice. So, and that's unfortunate. We have this great resource. So, Anne, you any interest in drafting a letter for us?
I'd be happy to draft up the letter, and I'd also be happy to reach out to the BFRT about how we'd like to talk about it, or how, whatever you think is the most appropriate way to say we're interested in it as someone who uses it every day, and we want to increase, and we think just next winter, many more people will want to be on it, and we want them to be safe.
I think you could probably say, so everybody else, correct me if I'm wrong, you could probably say we all use, like, I use it to commute back and forth to, in my daily lecture. Like, I think probably all the members of this committee, you wouldn't have to speak only for yourself if you said
that's
all of, I think all
awesome.
5 of us
Use that. Okay, 'cause
probably.
we all commute on it. And,
Yeah.
and one reason I'm not riding my bike, in fact, is because it's not plowed.
Mhm.
I would be otherwise,
Mhm.
but I'm walking instead.
So just as someone who cross-country skis on it and loves the fact that it's not plowed, and also someone who's, I also see people, riding fat tire bikes on it. I feel like people who do have the appropriate equipment are able to enjoy it in its, winter glory. But I do understand that probably more people than just me and the fat tire bike folks would like to be using it as a means of walking back and forth from town. But I just want to represent those sort of like
But the fact
athletic
is you could-
users as well.
But the fact is, the way it is in Lexington, you can still use that.
Yeah.
Because they don't plow the whole thing at all.
Yeah.
They plow like a 2-foot thing, and you still
Yeah.
can do all your cross-country skiing. We won't take that away from you.
Yeah, and that sounds great to me.
Yeah, I suspect that's true because of the little plows that we typically would have is, it's only 3 or 4 feet across, and the trail is about 10 feet across, isn't it, at least? So
It's pretty wide, yeah.
yeah. Well, I think we can accommodate everybody, hopefully, if we can find some money.
Well, so I can do a draft letter, or what should we do? Reach out to the BFRT first, or should we go to Lexington or Arlington first, or what should we do first?
Let's go through, I think the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail Advisory Committee. They seem like the appropriate starting point, and then volunteer, maybe offer that in the letter that, we could talk to other towns and see, how we want to go forward on it. But they're probably the correct jurisdiction on
That
this.
sounds
so
great. Okay, I'm happy to do that.
Thank you. And thank you for bringing it up.
It also ties in with the safety things that they're already looking
Yeah.
at. So if they're planning public forums and we raise this issue and put it on their radar, it could be something
Excellent
that they
idea.
get
That's
feedback.
a really good idea, Amy. That is such a good idea. Because in a way we can, it's exactly, they have all the people, they can ask them about this too.
Right.
They're
Thanks for your
related.
mention
Hey
on this
guys, sorry I
visit.
joined late, by the way. But I want to make a comment about safety. The one thing I notice when I go running, like Amy mentioned, is that you can't run on that trail in the winter, and so you end up running on the streets, and you run on the streets because the sidewalks aren't consistently plowed either. And so I think normally when there's no snow, you take a load off of the road of runners, you take them and you put them on the rail trail. When it's not plowed, that all those people move basically to the middle of the streets, and you have it throws it out of balance. So
With snowbanks on the side.
Yeah.
Right, snowbanks on the side, and normally running in the streets is fine, but when you have sort of a status quo that there's this asset which is usually or normally used for running, and then all of a sudden it goes away, now everything's out of balance, and like traffic's not used to seeing people running on the streets, and people aren't used to running in the streets, and so that's a safety issue I've definitely noticed.
Agreed,
myself.
100%, yeah.
Well, wonderful. It looks like we have an agenda and hopefully we can tie it into their public forums, because it is exactly a public safety issue. Even though they were really focused on Junction Park, I think we're talking about just extending it up to Old Marlboro Road. That makes perfect sense, I think.
At least
okay,
to
good.
start, like if you can get them to do one thing, then it'll be easier to get them to do the rest.
So, Anne, when you get it done, if you just circulate it around to the group, and then we'll
Okay.
be ready to send it off.
Okay, and yeah, and just really, okay, so I just send it to you one at a time, or so you just send it to you, Jeff? How do I do it?
We send it to the whole group for
Okay.
comments, right?
But
Okay.
you can only send it out to everybody. All the comments have to go back to Anne.
Yeah.
Singular. Okay,
And then
got
you
it.
have to
Yes.
compile.
Yeah, you can't have a
I get it. Got it.
tree.
No
No,
discussion.
that's deliberation, right?
Okay. Well, good. Well, continuing on bike and safety and pedestrians, who wants to take the lead on the quick wins on the bike ped improvements in West Concord?
I can get started with that. Ann and I had a meeting, a 1.5-hour meeting with Public Works today that I think was really productive. So I'm happy that we're off to a good start there. So just to summarize the content of our conversation, I basically shared those, 50 odd slides that we had gathered from our walkabout that took place in mid-October. And most of those slides have, multiple pictures on them. So it's not 50 slides worth of text, but it's really like illustrations of what we're talking about when we're asking about improvements. And the 4 areas of improvements that we spoke about were sidewalks, crosswalks, signage, and also bikeability. And I think the general feedback that we got from Alan Cathcart and Steve Dukran, who's the town engineer, is that they were quite aware of many of the things that we brought up, and those things are on their radar screen. But they said that they are just kind of chronically underfunded, basically, and have seen that there's deferred maintenance across a lot of Concord's infrastructure, not just West Concord's, but just kind of like across the entire footprint of our town. And so they are going to be asking at town meeting for additional budget to try and make up the deficit in some of these areas. But they said their long-term goal is to do something called, I'm going to get this wrong here. It's an approach where basically they're able to access funding that it was called debt exclusion. It's funding where it's able to fund capital improvements, and it wouldn't necessarily have to come out of the town's constrained budget, but they can kind of like enlarge the pie, so to speak, in order to do this debt exclusion that then would help fund some of these deferred improvements that are on their radar screen. So what does that mean for West Concord? Basically, they're working on the complete streets plan that we had seen a few months ago, and we actually recruited Steve Dukran, the town engineer, to come to our next meeting, March 2nd, to talk about the complete streets project and what they got to in terms of the design. I think they have it out to bid right now for contractors, and so he's going to talk about kind of like the final look and feel of that and discuss a bit of the timing and help us be able to communicate with West Concord residents about what's happening and when. The other thing we wanted to be sure of is that any sort of complete streets construction that's happening there on, Com Ave isn't kind of happening during the time that our big, festivals or gatherings occur in West Concord Junction. So we'd want to steer clear of like Porch Fest or Discover West Concord Day or any of those regular annual celebrations. And so he said they can be flexible and make sure that they're not doing loads of construction during those particular events. Let's see, what else?
I think what was really good is him coming in March. He said he's really open to collaborating with us and giving us a calendar or a tentative calendar so people know, because I think May 21st, if that's the right date, they're scheduled to be doing the Spring into West Concord Day, which is going to be this big event. And if it's a major construction, we don't want it then, right? So, but we want to try to.
What was the date you said, Anne? I'm sorry, I missed the date.
The spring. I have a calendar and it's on the other side of my desk here.
Oh, okay.
I'll get it and I'll get back to you. We'll give you the exact date. And it's May. I'll get it right. It's like the 3rd week of May, I think. It's Spring into West Concord. It's going to be a big event with all kinds of different collaborators here, and a new art show, all kinds of things. And so we just wanted to make that clear. But what was really great about him too is when he talked about the missing crosswalks, like because of the bike ped quick the walkthrough that we did, we learned that the Commonwealth and the Commonwealth Ave and Lawsbrook intersection is super dangerous. I mean, one guy even said he knows someone's going to get killed there, and there's no crosswalk there. And so we talked about maybe we could actually add that another crosswalk there as part of the complete streets. That was really great. And then we also brought up Marcia's very brilliant idea about doing some maybe painted or very artistic crosswalks like they're doing in Medford, like they're doing in Northampton, where they have rainbow crosswalks where the public paid for all the paint, and they did these wild, very colorful crosswalks all through the center of the town, which really are very inviting, and they definitely slow cars. Anyway, to make a long story short, they're not opposed to that, but they do have certain protocols to follow to make sure the crosswalk, if it's installed, will follow the rules, and the town won't get sued if someone gets hit in it, basically is what I learned. But what was interesting too, I think both Susan and I noticed that there's been a lot of shifting in the town about the old town managers left, Chris Whalen left. There's just a lot of shifting that's going on right now in a way. So there are new people on jobs, or people who've been in the job for 1 or 2 years. So they're very open, I think, to listening to us. It's kind of a new time. Well, how would you say it, Susan? You got the sense it was a new time.
Yeah. Well, it is a bit of an inflection point because both Alan Cathcart and Steve are relatively new in their jobs. But one thing that was eye-opening to me is they were showing, they had this like a drone view of, like Ride Out Playground and the street in front of it. And they showed the date of 2018, and there had been like 3 crosswalks that you could use on, I guess it would be Lawsbrook to get across to Ride Out. And he said, like, I guess during the construction or some sort of rehab of that front area, because, Ride Out has been, more parking spaces were added. 2 of those crosswalks were taken away, and now only 1 remains.
Yeah.
And his point was sometimes things are done for a reason, and we have to like examine what the reasoning might be and see if it still holds true. Because I think he might have been thinking, well, if you take 2 crosswalks away, then you can funnel everyone through the one crosswalk. But meanwhile, it's difficult for people to only have 1 crosswalk there. It's not as inviting to some people to have to like walk all the way to a crosswalk that's quite far away from them. So it kind of helped me see the different angles they have to look at things through, and they're trying to be frugal with Concord's money. Their budget is not huge, and so they have to prioritize a lot. So it was helpful to get a window into the way they think about these requests.
And the other key thing that was really cool and that was really good about the meeting is Susan was able to send them an actual map of the cultural district. They had never seen it. And they also said, they agreed with us that the speed limits and the signage was really all mostly posted before we were a cultural district. So the fact we're a cultural district now, where we're supposed to be inviting tourists in, like Rockport does or Northampton does, it's supposed to be super walkable, super bikeable. Basically, that they've never looked at that map to say, well, where should it be? So everything, basically the speed limits haven't been adjusted. The signage hasn't been adjusted. We still don't know exactly where the cultural district signs would go. And it's something we need to really look at and try to get started on, because this is the 7th year we're entering being cultural district. So, Rockport, Northampton, all these other places, Maynard, but they've taken off. I mean, they're marketing their cultural district like mad, even on Route 2, So we need to do this. So that's something, how we could collaborate with them about the signage, about the speed limits, about changing things. They were really excited about the cultural district, I think, and they didn't really seem to know about it. So we need to talk with them more, talk with the Transportation Advisory Committee more, talk with, and have the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail. Cars don't know coming from Route 2 that there's going to be a rail trail. It's the signage that's there is too close to the trail.
Yeah, so they seem to indicate that when the complete streets changes happen on Commonwealth Ave, there is the opportunity to maybe tack on some other improvements. They mentioned like improvements that would help out the traversability to Kenneth Dunn Square, for instance, that little triangle that's kind of like in the middle of, I guess, Com Ave, Lawsbrook, et cetera. So they seem to be thinking of the complete streets work as a sort of opening to do some other things that were on our list. And hopefully, we can be in touch with them about what the possibilities are there.
You said that they're both willing to come on March 2nd?
Actually, it would be
Stephen.
Steve. Yeah,
It was Steve, but we could
Dufresne, I
also
think
reach
is his
out
name.
to him as well, to Alan as well. Alan was amazing. Alan was really, really good. I mean, they both were really open.
Yeah.
And they wanted to listen to us first, and then we listened to them. It was just, they were amazing. They're amazingly diplomatic. They get it. They know that we're underfunded. And
Yeah.
and they want it to work. It was really wonderful talking with them. And they're into even doing playful things. Like Stephen was even talking about all these colorful crosswalks he's seen. And, maybe an artistic crosswalk could be really cool.
Yeah.
Maybe
So
we'll
I think-
stick the cultural district on developing a mural for the crosswalk.
Exactly. We could do it. We could do a mural for the crosswalk and be kind of a branding of fun, or, it's kid-like, it's fun. I don't know.
Yeah. But I
So-
think, so one thing I took away is that if we're serious, and if Concord in general is serious about having our cultural districts be walkable, we need to make sure there's funding there for, keeping that infrastructure in good condition and having a plan for maintaining it. So that could mean like looking at what's coming up at town meeting and making sure that we have, infrastructure in our town centers in mind when we're voting for different articles and stuff like that. But another thing they did mention is that they'll put us in touch with Aaron McCloskey, who I guess is the day-to-day public works person who would be our liaison, customarily.
I think he's the one who got the cracks in the commuter rail lot done.
Oh, perfect.
And-
Okay,
And
great.
was like responsive to that letter, and he emailed me and was open to
Well, so
hearing more.
maybe we could invite Aaron if Alan can't do it. Susan, that might be a good
Yeah,
idea.
Aaron could come too.
Aaron could
Yeah.
come too, because the more we understand them, I think the more feedback they can give us, the more feedback we can give them, the more we can communicate with the communities, because business people here want to know when the street's going to be torn up.
Right.
And they don't know that yet. And that's fair, but they want to know, so they can use us to get the word out, So I thought it was a really good meeting, and I think it's exactly what she said. We are at an inflection point. There's just new people in charge now, and there's just new things going on.
Amy, will you make sure in the minutes to note that we have to invite them to the meeting, get them the details on time and everything, and we'll make sure to do that. We can make it a big part of the agenda next month.
I think that'd be really good, because the more we understand how it works, the more we can get it to happen.
It'll be-
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm sure to be a good use of time.
Yeah.
All right. Membership outreach. I'm sure people, I've been talking to folks. Thought we were going to have a posting to put somewhere, and we had noted on the select committee, asked them to add to their agenda, but I thought somebody was going to draft a posting that we could put in our local West Concord, like we have our Hill Street happenings, or our little local email. Did we get one drafted, or should we draft one?
I can draft one. I created these physical posters that I put up in different bulletin boards and stuff like that around town, but I have not created the digital posting yet. So let me do that, and I can probably get it to folks by the end of this week.
Could you send the poster, the flyer you did? Because I could put it up at the mill.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, I will definitely do that.
I've never seen it, and I don't want to have to make one.
Yeah.
Also, I will put it up as I said I would and then failed to do. I will put it at the restaurant kiosk. I know
Maybe
you
send it to
me
all
and
of
then
us.
it fell off my radar. Sorry.
No,
Susan.
perfect. Yeah, I still have to cover some of the libraries because they weren't open when I was putting them up, but I covered a lot of actually bulletin boards in Concord Center because there were a lot of stores that had them.
Well, I can do the Fowler Library because it's right near where I live.
Oh, great.
Walk by
Okay.
it every day.
Yeah.
So I can do that, and I can do the mill.
Okay. I will send that out.
That's very helpful. I don't know is there a way, Marcia, should we ask to keep the posting on the select board minutes, or is that something that we?
I don't think you need to continue to ask, because that is there all the time,
Okay.
the list of postings. Susan, if you sent the flyer to me, I could ask that it be posted to your webpage. So
I would love that. Okay.
Great. Any other thoughts on membership outreach? I'm sure we've been all asking our friends and neighbors, and I've gotten opportunities to explain the West Concord Advisory Committee. I haven't got any takers yet, but I certainly have gotten the opportunity to talk a little bit about it. And people are generally think that's great, but I haven't gotten any takers yet. So I guess we'll all just keep talking our group up. Maybe we have to have a big party. We got in the spring, we had the open house.
Yeah.
It was probably a good type of thing to be thinking about for our future chairman, John.
Maybe maybe we could have some kind of presence or some type of information available at the May festival that Anne mentioned.
Oh, right. Yeah, we could definitely do that. So it's a Spring into West Concord Day, and I can't find my calendar. It's in my other office. But yeah, I can send you the date for that, guys.
Marcia, are we allowed to have the posters or have people handing out things outside the town meeting?
Outside of town meeting, yes. But you have to be careful about, I think it needs to be just like white paper,
No.
not colored paper.
Okay.
So that's the only thing. But yes, I don't see a problem with that. It's best to check in with the moderator or with the town manager's office. Chris Carmody is the administrator who is helping coordinate that. So if you want to reach out to the town manager's office, they can answer that better than I.
If we get flyers, I'd be willing to do that. So
Town meeting is coming up when, like May or June?
May 1st.
May
Sunday,
1st.
May
Okay.
1st,
All right.
I'm pretty sure.
let's get
Yeah,
that. We'll have a few more people by then.
Yeah.
It's a Sunday, May 1st. So they're going to try to do it all in one afternoon.
Great. Are we allowed to put flyers on cars, or is that not allowed? Not allowed?
Discouraged.
Okay. All right.
Maybe if there's any community members listening in who are interested in joining, we'll put in a card, a volunteer green card, and we have openings. So, all right, liaison updates. Mine was the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail Committee. Anyone else have liaison updates?
Well, I'm supposed to go to the Transportation Advisory Committee, and I missed them on January 24th, but I will not miss them the next time. And I have been in touch with Bill Posner, who is I think their clerk, and I think he'd be great, especially if we want to better understand speed issues. And that's something we did mention at our meeting, how some sides of the roads in the district are one speed limit and the other side is a different speed limit, and how that's very confusing. And so I think it's going to be great. So I will make amends and definitely be there this month.
Okay.
I reached out to the chair of the WCJCDC and introduced myself, but they just put their meeting off till next week, so I didn't go to a meeting yet. I attended the DEI Commission meeting, which was very interesting, but didn't raise any specific issues for us, but except it is at their behest that the select board has voted to cease using the term green cards because of it being an insensitive term to, I think, immigrants to this country, and so, or in some people's view, and so they're calling them volunteer cards now, just for all of our information. They were doing a survey and compiling results, and they're super broadly looking at ways to make the town have safe spaces for all different groups of people, but they're just getting off the ground. So it was a very interesting meeting, nothing West Concord specific. And I went to the planning board meeting on January 25th and learned a lot about the Middlesex School and the Thoreau Depot project. And then near the end, they mentioned two things that I'm wondering, Marcia, if you know what they were talking about, because they didn't mention them in any detail, but they sounded related to things we've talked about. Number one is that they were submitting, someone is submitting for a grant for $300,000 that has something to do with the CPC and the Assabet Bridge and the transportation improvement project and a 5-year plan. Do you know about that?
Yes.
Since we've talked, is that the
That's,
bridge we're always talking about?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
It's a Mass Trails grant, and it's a match for our CPC funds. And we still need an additional $110,000 to complete the design and permitting for the Assabet River pedestrian and bicycle bridge that would connect West Concord Center to the Baker Ave area. And so that's that. And then once we have the design, we are then able to do a public need, project need form and submit it to the Transportation Improvement Program, or TIP. And that would provide us with state funding to construct the bridge.
Great.
Okay, that sounded interesting, at least that we're always worried about it, and it's on somebody's radar, and we should all, I guess, all we can do is cross our fingers and hope they get the grant.
Yes.
But I do think it's a different bridge than the car bridge with the small sidewalks next to it. This is a bridge that goes over Baker Ave, or it goes from Baker Ave to West Concord Junction to connect the Baker Ave Business Park with the rest of West Concord Junction. So it like goes over the
Oh.
Assabet River only for pedestrians or people on bikes. It wouldn't be
Oh, okay,
for cars or anything. So yeah, it is a
Okay.
different bridge. Yeah.
okay,
The one
we
you're
need-
talking, about, Susan, is the Route 62 bridge.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. It's called, okay.
okay,
So we should
okay.
call it that instead, the Route 62 bridge.
okay.
Okay. All right.
With the very narrow sidewalks.
Yes. the-
Yes.
or Main Street Bridge.
It's
And
very
then-
dangerous. It's very dangerous. And that's the one where the wheelchair user had real trouble
Right.
accessing.
And then, so then the other thing was some type of land acquisition called Assabet Bluffs. Is that in West Concord? And is that anything that we
It's
should
right
know
near,
about?
it's just off of Old Marlborough Road and Upland Road. So if you were to take the Bruce Freeman Rail
Oh.
Trail,
Uh-huh.
if you're standing on the bridge over the Assabet River and look off to the left, look, I guess it's upstream,
Uh-huh.
and to the left, that area that's outside of the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail is the site that they're talking about. It's about 6+ acres. And it's a partnership right now. Planning is working with Natural Resources for the town, plus Sudbury Valley Trustees, Concord Land Conservation Trust, the Concord Open Land Foundation, and the Concord Housing Development Corporation to purchase this piece of land for housing and for open space. So about 6 acres would be permanently protected as open space, and approximately 1 acre would be reserved for a future affordable housing project to create up to 5 units of housing. There's an existing 2-family there, and we would add either a triplex or a single family and a duplex behind the existing house. So
The
that's,
existing house have a driveway onto Upland?
no, it does not.
Oh, okay,
The intention is to bring the driveway off of Old Marlborough Road.
okay.
So it's a small house right next to the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail there.
Okay, yeah. I know what you mean.
I know exactly what.
That would be good.
Okay,
That is,
thanks.
area is the right where the walking down over the bridge, the white signs that say, please don't go back here, private property, is so very inviting along the river there. So hopefully we're successful. Let us know how we can help.
Yes. When it comes to town meeting, so supporting the community preservation grant application, well, the CPC funds. And then I think there is another warrant article that talks about that too, is seeking a grant for the Land and Water Conservation Fund. So since we'll be acquiring the 6 acres for open space purposes, there has to be a separate warrant article. So come to town meeting.
We will be there. Any other liaison updates? Okay, public comment. from our community participants? Any thoughts or advice?
No, I think the issues that you're talking about are extremely relevant and important to us. We live on Main Street, right across from Concord Green, one of those capes that kind of sits up. I walk the rail trail. I walk to West Concord in other seasons at least once a day, sometimes twice a day. You know, I mail a letter, I stop in at Deborah's. The rail trail has been extremely important, but I cannot walk it once it's wet.
Yeah.
We live across from Concord Green, and we're the short segment that does not have sidewalks. So we have to walk down past Staffordshire, I think people know where, and then cross over to Concord Green, or that's where the sidewalks are. So, you know, we've gone through in the past, the request for sidewalks on our side of street, but that didn't work. But the things you're talking about are extremely relevant and important to our hearts. And, you know, in the future, right now, we're pretty confined, and, you know, age and circumstances make it limit our opportunities. But this is just what we need, a focus and expectations that hopefully we might join on down the road. But I really appreciate the areas that you're talking about, because they are close to our heart. And, you know, during the 2015 winter, when we had 9 feet of snow in the backyard, we talked about moving and we have that long driveway, but we could never leave West Concord. We just could not even imagine it. So thank you for all your hard work and your efforts. And we wrote down a lot of the information about meetings to come and areas that we will look into, because we have just not been as involved as we might want to be down the road.
Well, we'd love your feedback and input, because I think you could really have an impact now. We did talk with Alan and Steve today, the people who, you know, the engineer and the people running the town, and they were saying, we said to them, we really want to make it super walkable and bikeable around Concord Junction, and then West Concord. And then our second goal further down the road is to make it really easy to walk and bike from Concord Junction to Concord Center.
Terrific. Absolutely.
Because
terrific.
I try walking that, I try biking that, and as a small woman, I find it terrifying. And it should be, we are very lucky to have 2 cultural districts. It should be safe and easy for all.
Yeah. I have to say, I just, in conversation, my favorite walk, my husband can't walk the distance, is to walk the rail trail up to Powder Mill Road and walk to Farrell Farm and have lunch there and walk back. So
Okay.
And I worked in the schools for 32 years. I was part of Case Collaborative. And so I had offices in my career at Ripley School, at Willard School, at Alcott School. And so walkability is extraordinarily important to us. We'd like to give up 1 car eventually, maybe both cars. You know, we're down the street from, you know, Harvey Wheeler and Council on Aging and all those places, and the library and the post office. So I really appreciate all your efforts and your support, and our interest is great. So I hope we can get involved on some level down the road.
Well, I will take
Awesome.
the opportunity to thank you for coming, and ask you to feel free, if interested. We have a couple slots open on the advisory committee, and we're looking for members. And if it isn't right for you, please share with your neighbors. We do need at least a couple new members over the next couple of months. So please feel free to consider it. We're a fun group, I think. So.
You sound lovely. I mean, I'm very connected even in this short time. So it's something we'll really think about. Right now, we're facing some personal and health issues, but, you know, hopefully we will get beyond those very soon. And this is certainly something to think about. So thank you very much.
You're welcome. And as we heard, the volunteer cards are available now. And please feel free to take a look at that. But certainly also share with your neighbors, because I think it's not well publicized. And we think we're making some effort for everybody. And I'm glad that you feel it's been useful. So thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Any comments? If not,
I have a question. Did you want to return back to the January meeting minutes?
oh, no, we didn't. Yes, we were
Okay.
waiting for John. Thank you, Amy.
No problem.
Are you gonna put them up? Do I need to share?
I don't have them handy, but I can probably get them. I think John made changes based on comments, so I don't think I have, I'm not sure if I have what is
John, are you
the
still with us?
final version.
Not sure if we lost John.
Yeah, I'm here. No, I'm here. Sorry, I'm just multitasking.
I sent my comments to John and I think he incorporated them. Did anyone else not?
Jeff
I
also
do as
did,
well.
actually. Jeff also did.
Yep.
Let me join from my computer so I can share screen. Does that work? One second.
Recording in progress.
All right, one second. All right, can you see that?
We can.
Yes.
So I think I only had comments from, Amy and Jeff, and I recorded those. Do you want me to go through this? See if you see anything else that you need to update.
If you just scroll, we can. Okay.
All right.
All right. Go.
Jeff, I want to make sure that I got your, give me 1 second. I have a ton of emails from you, Jeff.
Can't be that many.
Yeah, so I think I got,
If you scroll
I got
down a
your
little bit more.
feedback. Yeah, I was just looking at my notes.
Yep. When was the green card change made? Was it still green cards back when we did these minutes, or should we change it to volunteer cards?
It was not, they changed that, I think, before the new year.
Okay, so we probably should change that.
Thank you.
There's another instance of it and a couple of lines below there. Next to submit their green cards.
The next instance is, has a space in it, John.
Okay. I just want to actually search the whole document as well anyway.
There you go.
Yeah, I was always uncomfortable with that term. A little bit. I think that's it though. All right, next page, last page.
Move to approve.
So
I
moved.
second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Do we have to do a roll call vote, Marcia?
It would be best, yes.
Susan?
I approve.
Ann?
I approve.
John?
Approved.
Amy?
Approved.
And I approve. So minutes are unanimously approved.
John, if you want to send them to me, I can get them where they need to go.
Great. Will do.
Great meeting, Jeff. You're fantastic.
Anyone want to make a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn by Ann.
I second that.
Great. Well, thank you all. And we will see you again and have probably a very good discussion with Alan and Steve or Aaron next month.
Sounds awesome.
Thank you, folks.
Thank
Take
you.
care, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Really excited.